All right, welcome again. This is Jay Hughes. For those of you that are just joining us, thanks for dropping by. We're going to work on your 2021 business plan today, and we're going to use a tool called the one-page business plan. It's a tool that I worked on 8-9 years ago. Have coached a lot of people through this, a lot of real estate agents and loan officers. We've had a ton of success with this particular tool, and I think you're really going to get a ton out of it. So again, if you're just now joining us, welcome, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes. We've got people joining as I speak. So yeah, welcome for sure. Let's see. So Brian Bauman made it. Good to see you, Brian. David Moberly, I saw you just joined. Doug, welcome. Grant, welcome. Kyle Buck, good to see you, sir. Steve Smith, I think you just joined. Good to see you, Steve. Amy Lind, very good to see you, Aim. And welcome to those of you that are continuing to join. We'll start here in just a couple of minutes. We'll give folks a few more minutes to jump in here. We'll be working on your 2021 business plan. And we're going to be using a tool called the one-page business plan. And it's super easy, super simple. It's a business plan that you'll actually use. JJ, good to see you. Ty Porter jumped in as well. Good to see you, Ty. Scott, good to see you. Let's see. Dave Jacobson, thanks for joining. Benj Foreman, good to see you. And we've got others with just phone numbers, so I can't welcome you personally. But again, for those of you that are just now joining, welcome to the webinar. We'll get started here in just a minute. Sydney Warner, good to see you. Thanks for hopping on today, Sydney. I'm sorry. And Levon, thanks for joining. Kevin Rice, good to see you, sir. Heidi Roberts, always a pleasure to see you, Heidi. All right. So it's 2 minutes after I say we roll. All right, so a couple quick things, a couple housekeeping things. Again, welcome to those of you that are just now joining us. We're going to be going through the one-page business plan. We'll be going through this tool, and it's a tool that I actually created for myself about 8 or 9 years ago, because the different companies that I worked for usually provided a business plan tool, and oftentimes it was several pages long. There was a lot of complexity to it, and I just really struggled with it. It was usually something that I maybe went ahead and completed, but I never went back and used it. It usually got filed in the round file, never to be seen or heard from again. And so I created this one-page business planning tool as something that could be really, really visual, a document that once filled out, like I could print it, laminate it, keep it on my desk. And so my goals, my habits and disciplines, all the things that I wanted to focus on for the upcoming year are right there in front of me at all times. And so today, during this webinar, I'm gonna share the tool itself, and then a little bit of background on why it works, why it's so important to just spend a little bit of time to get your goals and plans written down and keep them visual in front of you. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome. We haven't quite started yet, but we'll get rolling here in just actually we're starting. So welcome, we're glad you're in. So with regards to this one-page business plan tool, at the end of our call today, which I'm guessing probably 30 minutes, and we'll have you out of here, I'll share a link at the end, which will allow you to, once you click that link, you'll be able to download this one-page PDF so that you can actually work on your one-page business plan. Okay. So with that, we are We are moving. Again, welcome to those of you that are still joining. Glad to have you on the call. You haven't missed anything yet, but I want to kick this off with what I call kind of the big three challenges and objections that I hear over and over related to business planning. I hear this when I've managed people, coached people, and these are my own complaints. These are the things that I struggle with as well as it relates to business planning. And the first one is this. That is, you're working for a manager, an owner. Maybe you're at a bank, and it's even the business plan request or the production numbers. Your goals are supplied by that person, by the CEO, by the owner, by the manager. They tell you, here's the numbers that we need you to hit. And the issue with that is that you are not personally invested. It's not your goal. And so it's, and I'm sure probably everybody on this call has experienced that before. It's really tough to get motivated and exciting about hitting a number that you didn't create. So it could be, in fact, it's very likely that some of you on today's call are going to be required to complete a business plan for your manager, for your company. And that's good. That's okay. I just want to give you an option to be able to create your own simplified one-page business plan that distills the complexity down. And if you were supplied with goals and targets by your manager for your big plan that you're turning in, then you can have your own set of goals, production targets on your one-page business plan. It's super important that you are personally invested in the numbers that you're trying to hit. Number two, I mentioned this earlier, another significant issue is you oftentimes we're supplied a business planning template that's really long and super complex. Maybe it comes in Excel and it's got lots and lots of tabs in it. For some people, I've coached a lot of people through tools like that who it's perfect. They love it. But my brain doesn't work like that. I need big picture. Otherwise it tends to get, I get lost in the details and I lose motivation. So if I've got big picture goals and I've got really clear habits and disciplines associated with those goals, man, like that tends to be super motivating for me. So again, if you may have to complete a big plan for the company that you work for, and that's okay. But going through this one-page business plan template today might be really helpful for you. And it'll be something that you can print, laminate, put on your desk, and instead of never looking at the plan again, be something you can look at every day. When I'm coaching loan officers and real estate agents through the new year, usually we try to look at the one-page business plan and the goals associated with that every day for the first quarter. Okay. Third one, the third issue, challenge, objections we tend to hear on business plan that I hear, that I struggle with, is the third one is, I hear setting goals and writing business plans. It doesn't work. I tried it and it doesn't work. And so my exhortation to you right now is I'm going to build a case, build an argument today that's going to lay out why writing down your goals in a simple business plan will work. And what's critical is that if you understand the how it works, how writing down goals and targets and creating a plan, how that's related to the hard wiring associated in your brain. And I know for me, when I began to understand that, it changed everything. And all of a sudden, you hear people, I've heard people for 25 years say, you've got to write your goals down. You've got to write your goals down. Like, well, why? Like, what is it that does? Well, today we're going to talk about that. And I think in just a short amount of time, I'm going to help try to build this case that will be compelling enough for you to go, yes, it's going to be worth, the 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes to write my goals and targets down on this one-page business plan, because you'll be able to see why that's going to work for you, why it's so critical, how your brain and body function as it relates to targets. Okay, so essentially two things today that we're going to cover. One is why creating a written business plan will help you close more loans in 2021. If you're a real estate agent, close more transactions. Okay, so we'll be covering that. That'll be probably 15 minutes of today. And then the second thing is we're going to break out this one-page business planning tool. Again, I'll be sending you a link to so you can download that tool and fill that out yourself. So the last 5 to 10 minutes, I will explain the tool, how it works, and those are the two main things we're going to be covering today. All right, so the how our brain, our nervous system is wired as it relates to setting written goals and what we'll call today a lot targets. Okay, and so there's this concept that we want to understand how the use of imagination and visual targets, why that works. And the first thing I want to say is that we as human beings, we move towards what we see in our minds. We move towards what we see in our minds. And the great part about that is that when you set a written goal, let's say it's a production number or it's an income number, when the more clear that you see that, we move towards that. The more compelling and vivid that goal is, the more you are going to innately move towards that target when you see it in your mind. The scary part is that it doesn't matter if that target or goal is positive or negative. So if you, like me, if you've ever struggled with worry or anxiety, what that is that's an imagination of things that you do not want to have happen. If you find yourself thinking about, oh no, what happens if X or Y or Z happens? You are imagining a target that you don't want to hit. And the way we are wired is our brain doesn't know the difference between a positive or a negative target. It just is the target. What we see is what we move towards. Okay, and I'm going to give you a few examples of how that works. So first of all, on your screen you can see an airplane. Okay, and you can see this we'll call it a heat-seeking missile that's been shot from the lower plane, and the target is the plane that it's chasing up ahead. And the way that a missile navigation system works is the exact same way that our brain and body work. So, follow with me for just a moment, and I'll show you this example, and then we'll explain how that works in our own mind. So when a missile is fired, right, it begins to propel itself forward. It's got propulsion, it's moving ahead. And but what missiles do is like a heat-seeking missile, it begins to zig and zag back and forth. And the reason it's doing that is there are sensors on the front of the missile that are sensing like a heat signature on the plane that it's trying to hit. And so as it moves to the left, let's say, it catches this little glimpse of the heat signature. And so it turns back the other way, and it catches another glimpse of the heat signature. And so it corrects and it moves back the other way, and it zigzags, and all of a sudden it locks in on that heat signature, and boom, straight to the target. And that's how missiles work. That's how a lot of technology actually works. Now, here's what's interesting. You and I, the way we are wired, it's exactly the same way. And what I have found for me, when like this particular example makes sense. If you have kids, this will totally make sense. And if you don't have kids, I'm sure you've been around toddlers or young infants, and you've seen this, right? So like the picture on the screen, you can see this baby, and the eyes are locked in on a toy, right? The way a baby reaches for things, though, is the arm moves back and forth, just like a missile. The brain and the body are not wired yet in such a way where it can just easily reach forward and grab the toy. So it sees, the baby sees his or her own hand reaching out. The eye watches the hand move one direction. Oh, that's not towards the toy. So it moves it back the other direction. Oh, too far. So I'll go back the other way. It zigs and zags, and eventually it reaches for the toy. The exact same way that a missile does, exactly the same. And what we find, though, in human beings is that we learn. So as the baby grows older, it becomes more and more aware of its own body. And as it begins to reach for things, the zigging and zagging diminishes. Here's another example. See this all the time. It's so easy to see in athletics, but if sports are not your thing, trust me, the point I'm going to be trying to make is that this is massively applicable for hitting your targets and goals next year with regards to your business. It's just easy to demonstrate this with regards to physical activities like sports. So we have a baseball player. I want you to imagine, the pitch is made, the batter hits the ball, and we've got this outfielder out here. And so his eyes go to the ball, and calculations are begin to be made. How fast was that ball? How fast was it hit, come off the bat? How quickly it's moving through the air? At what angle? What the descent angle is? This player's brain is factoring in wind, the spin of the ball, all these things. And so it's feedback that's being received through this player's eyes as he locates a ball. And what happens is that the brain then creates what we call work orders for the body. The brain tells which muscles to contract and move, and for the player to intercept the ball on its path, right? And so as the ball is moving, the player runs to that spot, reaches up his glove, and catches the ball. And he does this. Here's what's amazing, right? Like, if you played sports, the more you do this as a player, the more you do this unthinkingly. The player is not consciously thinking about raising his glove to grab the ball, or he's not thinking about lifting his foot to take the next step. Not at all. All that is done unthinkingly. But the compelling reason I want to give you today of why that works in this scenario is there's a target. The ball is the target. The player runs, moves, lifts the glove, and catches the ball, which is the target. Other examples. So when you take a drink of water, if you reach across your desk right now to pick up a pen or a pencil, you don't have to think about it. You're not talking to your brain, or your brain is not you're not communicating with it in a conscious way to tell your muscles to contract or whatever. Like, you've done it so many times that we don't have to consciously think about it. We just do it. And this is true with anything that you do well, anything. And so the point I want to try and make today, one of them anyway, is that things that are maybe difficult for you now can become easy. And you know this because there's lots of things that you do today that probably were, incredibly difficult early on in your business, but it's easy for you now. And so, like, the first time that you were filling out a 1003, it was super difficult. You didn't understand any of the terminology. But the more you do it, the more practice, it becomes easier and easier. Now, here's the rub. As you're thinking about your goals and targets for 2021, you may be thinking, well, I know there's certain things as a loan officer I've got to do. I know I need to reach out to more real estate agents and begin to build relationships, but I'm not good at it. I don't like doing it. I've never been good at it. And one of the arguments I'm going to make for you today is that you can. And something like that for you maybe is difficult today can become easy because of this this dynamic between brain and body that we're talking about. Your mind and your body, they're engineered for success. Each attempt, just like the baby reaching for a rattle, each time that happens, the zig and the zag in the arm gets less. And the same is true when we are attempting things that are challenging for us. It gets easier and easier and easier the more we attempt it. The problem is none of us likes to fail. And so often that paralyzes people, myself included, and we don't do it. But I'm gonna share a couple other things with you today that are gonna really make sense, that help tremendously with that issue if you deal with perfectionism. So the main takeaway so far, the key is this: setting clear targets. If we just do that, set a clear target, we set ourselves up, put ourselves on the road to be successful in hitting that target. If you don't have a target, it's like the baseball player sitting in right field. I mean, if he's not looking for the ball, things get very stagnant, boring. If once the ball is in the air and the baseball player locks in on that target, boom, he's off and running. So for you and for me in 2021, probably the biggest thing you could do to help yourself is to identify and set really clear objectives and targets, things that you're passionate about, that you're excited about, that like shake you, make you want to get up in the morning and go. When you have identified those targets, man, like it makes all the difference in the world. It's why you setting your own targets is so much more beneficial than getting a production goal from your manager, your boss, whatever. Okay, now, this one I love. And for those of you that know me, I don't tend to talk this way. Like $1 million takeaway sounds kind of wild, hyperbole. But I really, I mean it. What I'm gonna share with you right here changed my life 10 years ago. And as I've coached a lot of sports over the years, and so all the different teams that I've coached, all my boys who play basketball, my own sons, this is something that I try to talk to them about. They've heard so many times they get sick of it, but here it is. Your nervous system, my nervous system, cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real, actual experience. So to go back to our baseball player, the guy sitting in right field, to get better and better at catching fly balls, he needs to catch thousands of them. You know, we've probably all heard the term, like to become an expert in anything, you need roughly 10,000 attempts. And with each attempt, you get a little bit better. It's like the baby reaching for the toy. The arm movement back and forth gets less and less, so we get better and better at it. It's just like your teenager who started to drive a car. At first, they're driving on the road, and they make a right turn, and they way overturn. And so what do? They realize it too late, so they swerve back in the other direction. Well, after lots and lots of attempts, the wiring between the brain and the nervous system gets dialed in. The feedback that's coming in from our eyes, we get better of interpreting that, and all of a sudden we can do it better. But the $1 million takeaway is we can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real experience. So the outfielder can get better and better by these real attempts at catching fly balls, but he can also get just as good by visualizing, imagining fly balls being hit and running after them and catching them. I'll give you an example. This is my favorite one. I'm a basketball coach, so I use this one all the time, but I will tell you there are, this particular study on basketball free throws has been duplicated many times, but it's so compelling. And again, to be clear, this webinar is regarding helping you hit your goals as a loan officer or real estate agent next year. right? But hang with me. This example with regards to free throws makes the case so well, because if you can mentally rehearse free throws, you can mentally rehearse anything. Okay, so here was the study. Again, it's been done many, many times. There's three groups of athletes. Okay, and these three groups are asked to shoot free throws. We'll say 25 free throws, and the data collectors record the results of these three groups. Okay, and so everybody's scores are recorded, and then what they want to do is after 20 days, they're going to measure improvement for each of these three groups. Okay, so here's group one. Group one, after the initial day, they were told to practice shooting their free throws for 20 minutes per day for 20 days. Okay, that's group one. Group two, they're instructed, don't pick up a basketball, don't do anything. We just want you to come back to the gym in 20 days. We're going to score you again, and we're going to see what your improvement is or isn't. And then group three, don't pick up a basketball, don't come to the gym, but we want you to imagine, vividly imagine shooting free throws for 20 minutes per day for 20 days. Okay, and the instructions are clear in that it's like the more vividly you can imagine this, the better. Imagine the feel of the basketball. It's slick or it's tacky. Imagine the smells inside the gym, the feel of the hardwood floor, the athletic clothes that you're wearing, the lighting. Vividly imagine all of that. Okay, do that without touching an actual basketball for 20 days, 20 minutes per day. Here's the results. Group one, they actually practice shooting free throws 20 minutes a day for 20 days. After 20 days, come back, rescore. Their scores improved by 24%. Group two, not surprisingly, they do nothing. They come back and they shoot essentially the same free throw percentage, no improvement. But here's the kicker. Group three, no physical practice, only practicing in their mind, improved by 23%. It's virtually the same as group one, who's doing the physical practice. And again, I want to underline this piece. It's huge. It's the $1 million takeaway from today. Your brain, my brain, our brain, body, nervous system, they don't know the difference between real practice and mental rehearsal, visually imagining whatever it is that the activity is. We improve by the same percentage. And that doesn't matter if that's athletics. Golf is a huge one. There's tons of visualization and have been for 50 years in golf, but all the other sports have caught up. There's piano, there's piano teaching, like lessons, programs where the only practicing you do, or 90% of practicing you do, is in your mind. You imagine. And people, they get better, they latch better. So it doesn't matter what the activity is. Our brain and body, our nervous system doesn't know the difference. So again, things that were difficult for you, I want you to imagine, like as you're thinking about what you would like to do in your business that's difficult for you. My argument to you today is like, it can become easy, really easy. And so here's three, what I'll call operator instructions. Okay, you as the operator of essentially what we call it, it's a servo mechanism, your onboard computer, your brain. Number one, the biggest thing is to set clear targets. Set clear targets. Number two, vividly imagined mental rehearsal of whatever it is. So if you're struggling with call reluctance, it's sitting down in a quiet, dark room and visualizing what it would look like to sit down and have a coffee and have a discussion with a real estate agent or some other referral partner, and vividly imagining the back and forth, the objections that might be raised. And you walk through that. Your brain, body doesn't know the difference between the two types of practice, real or vividly imagined. And then the third thing is the actual action that needs to take place. So if we're talking about, having coffee with real estate agents, we want clear targets of how many agents, let's say, that I want to build a referring relationship with in 2021. That's the clear target. Number two, I want to vividly imagine and mentally rehearse. Then number three, I need to go out and actually do it. I need to have these discussions with them. Okay, so quick objection. You might be thinking, wait, Jay, I have set goals in the past and I have not reached them. What happened? Okay, and I think there's other things than this, but I want to share two with you because I think these are really common, and I believe they're ones that I have struggled with. Okay, so number one, we often lose sight of the target. We forget about it. We're not passionate about it. We have no why, right? Like the why being what it is that's driving me. Why do I get out of bed in the morning? It's a target that doesn't really excite me. And so it moves off our radar screen. And that's why this one-page business plan works so well, because you can set your targets, make sure that they're compelling and motivating to you, print it, laminate it, keep it in front of you so you don't lose sight of the target, okay? So that's one reason why you may not have hit your goals in the past, even though you wrote them down. Number two, we begin to focus on negative targets. So maybe you have this target in front of you that you want to hit, but you unthinkingly, subconsciously tend to focus on negative targets, and you don't even realize it. You're not even aware of it. You worry, you're anxious, you're worried about what's going to happen in the future, but you're just like, you're not even really aware that that's happening, because like it says right here, we literally convince ourselves that I can't do it. And I want to tell a quick story on that. This was a few years back, and I was actually getting ready to teach this exact webinar. And right before I taught it, I was watching Sports Center, and tennis player, they were talking about her and her struggles that day. And I watched this little clip, and Serena said, I can't serve, right? Like she double faults into the net a couple different times, and she yells this, I can't serve. I can't serve. And so what happens? Well, she continues to struggle with her serving the rest of the match. And so I want to give you a little quote with that. I would say this is also $1 million takeaway. The quote is this: a human being always, and I underline the always there, a human being always acts, feels, and performs in accordance with what he or she imagines to be true about themselves and their environment. We always act, feel, and perform based on what we believe to be true about myself and the things around me. So if I believe that I can't serve, I can't serve. It's why when you go watch a hypnotist and they tell somebody, hey, this pencil that's on the table weighs 1,000 pounds. You can't lift it. If the subject is hypnotized, they literally cannot lift it, because it's not there's nothing like spiritual or demonic going on there. Like it's an issue of belief. They actually believe they cannot lift it. If you believe you cannot do something, you can't do it. So if you tend to worry and ruminate on things that are negative, that's where your brain goes. And we always act, feel, and perform in accordance with what we believe to be true. So if you believe you're no good at engaging with referral partners, if you believe you're no good in following up with listing agents, if you believe that you've always failed in writing handwritten notes to your customers, you're gonna feel that that's true, and you're gonna act and perform based on that, and you will not be able to do it. So these false and negative beliefs, we'll go super fast through here, but as I run through them, I just want you to read these and ask yourself, are these things that I tend to say and I don't even realize it? I've even heard these things come out of my mouth, but but I don't know either. I know that I'm negative, or maybe I don't even realize it, how impactful these kinds of statements are. I hate calling my past clients. I don't have anything to talk to them about. When you think that, when you believe that, of course you're not going to pick up the phone to call your past clients. You know, if you're a loan officer, we hear statements like, my underwriters, they always add the wrong conditions, or this underwriter is always combative with me. You know, a loan officer, may say, I always close 2 loans a month. I can't do any more than that. Well, that's going to be true. That's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm no good at speaking in front of a group. You know, I know I would blow it. If that's the mental target in your mind, you will bomb. There's no question about it. We feel, we act, we perform based on what we believe and imagine to be true. So as we're moving, look at the time here, we're moving close to wrapping, but this is kind of like the last bit of like compelling evidence, exhortation to you that you can build new habits. You can reach your 2021 targets. And the best part about it, you can do that without relying on teeth-gritted willpower. Like, one of the toughest goals to hit for most people, myself included, is like a weight loss goal or eating healthy foods. And that's one of those things, like, we tend to try to do that with willpower alone, right? Like white knuckles, I just don't think I can do it. I love the food I eat, as opposed to setting clear targets and actually using your imagination, watching yourself make healthy choices. Picture standing on the scale and it reading out what you want it to read. And there's a lot more we could go into that, but like it's a way of building new habits and new skills and hitting your targets without willpower, because willpower doesn't last, flat out. So again, what we need to do, set clear targets, write them down. You got to see vividly in your mind what it is that you want, because we move towards and strive towards what we see in our mind, just like a heat-seeking missile. It's how we're wired. Our mind and body work just as easily towards a positive mental target as a negative one. So if you tend to be anxious and worry, my encouragement to you is to take some time today and think about that. Like, why is it that I tend to just go to negative targets? Of course I'm going to get those results. We need to remember that mental rehearsal is the same as it's a synthetic experience. Our nervous system can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. And lastly, that our mind and body operate based on what we are passionate about and what we believe to be true. So if you're setting a goal, let's say you're an originator, you closed 30 million this year, maybe it's the best year you ever have, and you believe like 50 million is possible. If I was working with you, I'd be all over that. But here's what we'd be talking about. One, why is it that you want to hit 50? Because we've got to determine, like, is it something you're passionate about? And if not, what do we got to do to create that passion? Something that makes it exciting to you. And then number two, do you really believe that you can get there? Do you know you can get there? You believe it to be true? Because if either of those things are not in place, we can't get there. We can't get there. Okay, so we're going to transition into this one-page business plan tool that I've mentioned at the beginning of the call. And here's essentially what it is. Your 2021 business plan, it connects to everything I've shared so far, in that it's a written vision of what I want my mortgage or real estate platform to look like and how it will operate and perform. That's all we're doing. It's like taking a vividly imagined mental picture, or lots of pictures, of where I want to go in 2021 and translating those images into words and putting it on a piece of paper. Okay, that's all a business plan is. At least that's all a business plan is that can help you be successful. There's lots of other potential points that could be made of why you should create a business plan, but Matt, you're not going to hear those from me. If you want to hit your goals for 2021, then it's translating vividly imagined images, things that you're passionate about, into words and putting them on paper, and then printing that sucker, putting it on your desk, and keeping it in front of you at all times. So 3 steps to complete your one-page business plan. Again, I'll send you a link here shortly. You're gonna have access to a link that will allow you to download this tool. But here's the 3 things that you're gonna do. Number 1, you're gonna describe on this one-page tool your why. And the why is what it is that's motivating to you, what you're passionate about this business. And so, you know, this may be the most important part for you. And again, I would suggest getting behind a closed door, maybe in a dark room, and imagining and asking yourself, what is it that I love about this business? Am I competitive and I just love hitting my targets? Do I love giving and serving and loving on my customers? Like, that's what motivates me. Or I love providing for my family. Whatever it is, it's describing what it is, essentially, of why you get out of bed every morning. That's the first component on this one-page business plan. Number 2, you're going to define your targets, right? I've said multiple times today, it's the key to everything. If you want to hit 50 million or 100 million in production in 2021, that target has got to be crystal clear in your mind, crystal clear. So step 2, we define our targets and our goals. That would be these big picture goals. Maybe it's your dollar production goal. Maybe it's units. Maybe it's the amount of money that you would like to make. Maybe you can have goals on this one-page tool regarding how many vacations you're going to take this year, or how many hours a week you're going to work, right? Maybe you've worked 60, 70 hours a week this year and you want to cut that down to 40, 45. Like, that's got to be a clearly defined target that you see in your mind, and we translate that into writing on the paper. And then number 3, step 3 is we create these habits and disciplines and what I call one-time projects. These are the actions that you'll need to take that carry you towards those targets and goals. So if I want to hit 50 million, then I need to think about, well, what are the different habits I've got to have in place in order to get there? I know I'm going to need a great early morning routine. I know I'm going to need to write out my to-do list every morning or at the close of business every day. Or I know I need to write 5 handwritten notes every single week. Or I know I need to call my past client database X number of times per quarter, or whatever it is, right? Those are the habits that support your target and your goals. So on the right side of the screen, this is actually an older version of the tool, but essentially it looks, it's essentially the same. And so this one-page business planning tool, what you see on the screen, is the tool itself. It's a PDF, but it's a fillable PDF. So you'll be able to open it up on your Windows desktop in Word, or not in Word, but just opening up in Adobe Reader, or even will open in Chrome or whatnot. And then each of these fields is fillable. So you type in your why, you type in your targets and goals, your disciplines, habits, and one-time projects. So you've got the why up there on the top, your targets and goals is the second, and then your habits and one-time projects are the 2 sections on the bottom. So I'm going to close by sharing with you just a few business planning best practices. And here's what they would be. Number 1, I'd say set aside 90 minutes to complete this one-page tool where you are completely unplugged. You've put your phone away, your email is away, and you're in a room with the door closed and no interruptions. I would, like, when I'm coaching loan officers through this particular exercise of doing the tool, I tell them, hey, like, if you had a borrower who was coming in tomorrow and to take an application, and it was $1 million transaction, appraised value $2 million, loan amount $1 million, 800 credit scores, millions of dollars in the bank, W-2 earner, no debt, like, it's a slam dunk deal. Like, if that's what was happening tomorrow at noon, would you be able to set aside 90 minutes to meet with that borrower? And of course, yes, you would. I mean, is there anything that you would allow to interrupt you in meeting with that borrower to work on that $1 million application? Well, of course not, right? Like, it's a slam dunk. There's nothing that could be more important than that. And so same thing here. It's setting aside 90 minutes and treating it like a $1 million loan application or a $1 million listing. That's a slam dunk deal. So I'd set aside the 90 minutes to do that. Number two, after you're done, print it and laminate it. And radar means it allows us to keep it on your radar screen, something that you can review. And then we review it daily. Once it's printed out, it's something you want to review daily. That keeps those mental images in your mind. And again, we said at the very beginning, we move towards what we see. And if you are seeing nothing but negative targets, you've got to replace that with your goals, with the targets you want to hit. And I'm telling you, it's emphatically true. If you will do that, you will move towards your targets in 2021. I guarantee it. And especially if you remember the kind of the $1 million takeaway, mental rehearsal is the same as actual rehearsal. When I began prepping to do webinars 8-9 years ago, like this particular webinar, I did in my mind probably 25 different times before I ever did it live. I mentally rehearsed today's webinar this morning and ran through it because there's our mind can't tell the difference between mental or actual practice. If you want to improve in a skill, whether that's shooting free throws or connecting with your referral partners better, we mentally rehearse, vividly imagine. And lastly, it's my last slide. If you haven't been convinced yet, here's my last ditch effort. It's dangerous to operate in 2021 without a written plan. It's like the right fielder sitting out in right field, not having a target to shoot at, not having a ball to run after. We get very complacent. We lose sight of the context of what is going on, what we should be doing. It's lonely out at right field if you don't have a target to run after. And it's dangerous for us to operate without a written plan. And I love this quote. J.R.R. Tolkien he wrote Lord of the Rings, he wrote The Hobbit, and it was kind of like, fantasy stuff, and there was dragons and elves and dwarves and all of his stories. And I just love this quote. He says, "It does not do to leave a live dragon out of your calculations if you live near him," right? And so my exhortation to you right now is there's a lot of live dragons out there in the real world that want to attack your business, want to take business away from you. And to operate without a written plan is it's dangerous. You're leaving the dangers that are out there out of your calculations. And so I want to encourage you to complete your one-page business plan. If 90 minutes is too much, tell you what, I've coached people through the tool who have spent 15 minutes and still got a ton of value out of that. Okay, and with that is it. And I can't believe it. I think everybody that joined is still on. And I went over. That's pretty incredible. So thanks for being on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, right now, I'm going to paste the link to the one-page business plan tool into the chat. If I can. That's questions. Where's the chat? This is my first time. I've been a GoToWebinar user for 10 years, and I switched to Zoom meetings and webinar a couple weeks ago, and this is my very first webinar on Zoom, and I don't know where where to put the link. 1 second. Let's see. Unbelievable. Well, we had to have a hiccup. Had to have a hiccup at the very end. I'm gonna get you. Wait a second. This could be it. Boom. I found it. Lord, thank you. Let's see if this works. Okay. So that should, the link to the one-page business plan, I just placed in the chat. Maybe let me know if you guys see that. If I could get a few people that could confirm that, would be amazing. But I think it's there. If for any reason you can't see the link and you would like the one-page business planning tool, Shauna's saying she doesn't see it. Nobody sees it. Let's see. Oh, I see why. Hold on. Thank you. Here it comes. Hold tight. Now it's there. Let me know if you see it. Boom. Boom. Thank you, JJ, Lisa, Tammy, all you guys. So there you go. You should be able to click the link, download the one-page business planning tool. If you are there and you can't see it for whatever reason, you can email me. You can go j.hughes@axiahomeloans.com, or you can go j@pressingon.com, and I will have my assistant forward you that the one-page business planning tool. Boom. You are welcome, JJ. Thank you, bud. If anybody has any questions, you can type that into the question and answer. It looks like there's a question section. So if you have a question, you can ask me now, or you can throw it in the chat. I'd be happy to address any questions that you have there. And if not, you are welcome to hop off. Thank you guys so much for being on today. Really appreciate it. I hope that was helpful. And man, like God is my #1 priority. And I love helping people hit their goals, grow as individuals. It's what I believe God built me for. And so I get tons of value out of doing stuff like this and working with you guys, even if it's just to help a little bit in helping you move forward a little bit, take a step towards your goals in 2021. I get tons of, I love that. I love that. So if you're able to do your 2021 business plan and if the tool's helpful, man, I'd love to hear from you on that. Okay, let me look and see. You're welcome, Lisa. And Shanna, good to see you. You and Dean and I, we need to get out after the first year. I told Dean we need to get out and do some coffee. That'd be amazing. Kabi, thank you, sir. You're too kind. David Moberly, thank you, sir. Appreciate you being there. And let's see. Tammy got it. Good deal, Tammy. All right. Grant got it. Good deal. Kevin Rice, you're welcome, man. Thanks for being on. Lavon, you're welcome. And doesn't look like there's any questions. So, hey, guys, that is it. I'll stick around for a couple more minutes in case anybody has a question. But again, you are welcome to hop off. Thanks for being on the call today.